The auction hall on Korath was larger than anything Lyra had ever seen. Its high, curved ceilings glimmered with the faint glow of alien crystals embedded into the walls, casting a soft, shifting light over the rows of cages and platforms. Hundreds of beings of every imaginable shape and size had been gathered here, displayed as if they were objects, not sentient creatures. The air smelled of antiseptic and metal, mixed with the faint tang of fear that hung over the crowd like a heavy curtain. Lyra's violet skin reflected the shifting light, making her look almost ethereal as she was brought forward on the auction platform. Her wings were folded neatly behind her, delicate and translucent, catching the light with every movement. She had been trained to maintain calm, to keep her face neutral, but inside anxiety gnawed at her. She had been through many auctions before, yet each one felt worse than the last. This was the largest market she had ever seen, and the stakes were higher than ever. The auctioneer's voice boomed, rough and metallic, echoing off the crystal walls. Next up, a rare specimen, female type Lyra. Shimmering skin, delicate frame, intelligent but not strong in combat. Shall we begin the bidding? Whispers ran through the crowd. Too fragile, said one alien with 6 eyes. She will not survive our environment. Another scoffed. Too rare. Who even understands her species? Better leave her for someone else. Lyra lowered her gaze, trying not to show her discomfort. She knew the truth. The bidders were not interested in her abilities or mind. They wanted profit, power, and spectacle. Her species was considered delicate, ornamental even, and the idea of her surviving in a harsh environment made them laugh. Hours passed, and no one came forward. Her hope dwindled with each passing moment. The auctioneer's voice grew impatient, barking for higher offers for anyone to take her. Lyra remained still, her heart heavy with fear and uncertainty. She had been unsold before, but never in such a public, humiliating way. Then through the crowded hall a human walked in. He moved differently than the alien bidders, not with arrogance or predatory curiosity, but with quiet purpose. His boots clicked against the polished floor as he approached the auction platform. His eyes, a clear shade of green, scanned the scene with a strange combination of calmness and intensity. He did not look like someone who would buy slaves for profit, and that alone drew curious glances. Marcus Hale stopped in front of the platform, folding his arms as he studied Lyra. He noticed how she held herself, the faint tension in her wings, the way her eyes darted nervously around the hall. Most bidders only saw her skin and frame. Marcus saw the subtle confidence, the intelligence, the resilience behind her eyes. The auctioneer paused, surprised by the human's interest. "Ah, a human," he sneered. "Curious. What do you know of these rare beings? Do you understand their value?" Marcus shook his head. "Value is not in appearances or rarity. I want to know what she can do, what she knows. I'm not interested in owning her as a commodity." His voice was calm but firm, carrying an authority that made the auctioneer hesitate. The crowd murmured in disbelief. Humans were rare at this auction, and even rarer were those who didn't care about wealth or status. The other bidders whispered among themselves, some mocking, some genuinely curious. Lyra, hearing his words, felt a flicker of hope. Could this human be different? Could he see her as something more than an object? Marcus stepped closer. "Tell me about her," he said, addressing the auctioneer. "Her skills, her intelligence, her adaptability. What can she contribute to a team, to a mission, to survival?" The auctioneer scowled but complied, rattling off a list of basic traits and abilities. She can follow instructions. She has telepathic aptitude but requires training. Her species is agile but lacks combat strength. Overall, she is delicate. Marcus nodded, not dismissing the warning but not concerned either. Delicate does not mean incapable. Intelligence and skill are more important than brute strength. There was a pause as Marcus made his bid. The amount he offered was not the highest in the hall, but it was respectable. More importantly, it was a statement. He was willing to step forward when no one else would. "Sold to the human," the auctioneer barked, clearly irritated. "Congratulations. You now own her." Lyra froze, unsure what to feel. She was being claimed. Yet it was different from all the other times. There was no laughter, no sense of ownership imposed without thought. The human's gaze met hers, steady and unyielding. There was a respect there, a recognition of her as someone with agency. Marcus extended a hand not to touch but to guide. "Come with me. You are not just a purchase. You are making a choice too." She hesitated, then nodded slightly. Trust was difficult, but the sincerity in his eyes made her take the step forward. As they walked through the hall, the whispers followed them. Other bidders gawked, some in disbelief that a human would act so differently, others in quiet admiration. On the ship that waited outside the port, Marcus introduced her to the human colony he was returning to. "You are free to choose what you do next," he said. "I am here to make sure you get that choice safely." Lyra looked around the small ship. It was functional, not lavish but comfortable. There were no guards, no chains, no signs of ownership. For the first time in her life, she felt that freedom might be possible. As the ship lifted off the landing pad, leaving the auction hall far behind, Lyra studied Marcus more closely. He did not look like a savior, not in the heroic sense she had read about in old stories. He was practical, calm, and resolute, yet there was something in the way he approached life, in the way he treated others, that made her feel safe. The journey through space was quiet at first. Lyra did not know what to say, and Marcus did not push her. Instead, he allowed silence to fill the space, letting her settle into the unfamiliar feeling of trust. After hours of travel, she finally spoke. "Why me?" Her voice was soft, almost unsure. "Why did you choose me when everyone else ignored me?" Marcus leaned back in his seat, considering his answer. "Because you are not like the others see you."
"I have seen this across the galaxy."
Many judge by appearances, by strength, by rarity, but intelligence, courage, and integrity, those are harder to find. You have all of those, even if no one else has recognized them. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. No one had ever said anything like that to her. Most saw only her beauty or delicacy, never her mind, her abilities, or her potential. It was a strange feeling, one that left her both wary and hopeful. Days passed as they traveled through uncharted regions of space. Marcus taught her how to navigate, how to interpret star maps, and how to use the ship's systems. Lyra proved to be quick, absorbing information with remarkable speed. Marcus smiled quietly to himself. She was more capable than he had anticipated, and yet, she never boasted or demanded attention. Her strength was subtle, her intelligence sharp. As they approached the edge of the known galaxy, a minor crisis occurred. A small asteroid field appeared on their path, and the ship's autopilot failed. Marcus acted quickly, but the calculations were complex. Lyra instinctively reached out, using her telepathic sensitivity to sense subtle gravitational shifts. She guided Marcus's hands to the correct controls, preventing the ship from colliding with the asteroids. Marcus stared at her in surprise, a smile forming on his lips. "I underestimated you," he admitted. "You're more than I thought." Lyra felt a flush of pride but kept her composure. "I am not just fragile," she said simply. "I can contribute. I can help." From that moment, a bond began to form. Not one of ownership or obligation, but of respect and mutual reliance. Marcus recognized the unfairness of the galaxy, how beings were often judged and discarded. Lyra began to understand the human capacity for integrity, for seeing beyond appearances, for valuing skill and courage over superficial traits. As they traveled further, they discussed their pasts, the injustices they had witnessed, and their hopes for the future. Marcus shared stories of human colonies that had thrived despite adversity, of humans who had risen to leadership not through power but through cleverness and morality. Lyra listened, fascinated. She had seen humans dismissed as weak in many parts of the galaxy, yet here was one who embodied everything admirable about their species. Evenings on the ship were quiet, but filled with subtle learning. Marcus taught her about human culture, humor, and ethics, while Lyra shared insights about alien societies, their politics, and survival strategies. They discovered common ground, a shared sense of morality and the desire to challenge injustice. By the time they reached the edge of the human colony, the first part of their journey had already transformed Lyra's understanding of the galaxy and of herself. She was no longer the girl left unsold at a slave auction. She was someone with choices, someone who had been seen for her true worth, someone capable of shaping her destiny alongside a human who respected her as an equal. As the colony's lights grew in the distance, Lyra felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. She had survived the auction, but now came a new challenge. Learning to live in a world where she was not a commodity, where she had agency and freedom. And more importantly, learning to trust the human who had stepped forward when no one else would. The stars stretched endlessly around them, silent witnesses to the beginning of a journey that neither of them fully understood yet. But one thing was clear. Together they— The human colony was a cluster of domed settlements scattered across a greenish planet, far from the oppressive markets of Korath. Marcus piloted the ship through the thin atmosphere, gently landing near one of the larger domes. Lyra peered through the viewports, her violet skin reflecting the soft glow of the colony lights. Trees with strange curling leaves swayed in the wind, and small vehicles hummed along the paths. It was nothing like the crowded, metallic auction halls she had endured. It was quiet, safe, and strange in its peacefulness. Marcus shut down the engines and the ship's doors hissed open. "Welcome," he said, gesturing toward the colony. "You have a choice. You can stay here, learn, adapt. No one will force you into anything. This is your chance to be free." Lyra stepped out cautiously, her wings fluttering slightly from nervousness. Every step felt foreign on solid ground, yet with Marcus beside her she felt a steadying reassurance. She was no longer just a display at an auction. She was a being with agency, with the power to shape her own life. The first days were a mixture of wonder and challenge. Lyra explored the colony with Marcus, learning its systems, rules, and routines. Humans and aliens worked side by side, not as masters and slaves, but as equals contributing to the community. Lyra was fascinated by the organization, the efficiency, and the respect inherent in the colony's structure. She quickly realized how different humans were compared to the galaxy's usual power-driven politics. Marcus, in turn, learned about Lyra's species more deeply. Her intelligence was remarkable, her abilities subtle but powerful. She could sense shifts in energy, detect weak signals from machinery, and navigate difficult terrain with an almost instinctive precision. Marcus began to rely on her skills not out of necessity, but because he recognized her talent. On their second day in the colony, news arrived that bounty hunters were searching for Lyra. The word had spread quickly after her escape from the Korath auction. Their signals had been detected, and some of the less scrupulous factions of the galaxy had put a price on her head. Lyra stiffened, remembering the fear of the auction hall, but Marcus placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "They'll come," he said calmly, "but we're not defenseless. We'll handle it together." Lyra nodded, her trust in him solidifying. She was no longer just a passenger. She was a partner in their survival. Marcus showed her the colony's defense systems: energy shields, automated turrets, and human ingenuity applied to safety. Lyra contributed by mapping the approach vectors and sensing subtle energy patterns that even the colony sensors had missed. When the first attackers arrived, they came in small ships, trying to ambush the colony. Marcus and Lyra acted quickly, coordinating the defenses. Marcus piloted a small interceptor, weaving through the enemy ships with precision. Lyra's abilities allowed her to guide his movements, sensing gravitational shifts and the faint energy signatures of the attackers' weapons. Together they disabled several ships, forcing the rest to retreat. After the attack, the colony inhabitants gathered to congratulate them. Humans and aliens alike admired Lyra for her bravery and intelligence, and Marcus for his skill and leadership. For Lyra, it was a revelation. She had never experienced respect that was genuine and earned, rather than imposed through fear or ownership. In the days that followed, Lyra adapted to her new life. She trained with the colony's instructors, learning advanced technologies and strategies. She shared her knowledge of alien environments and tactics, enriching the colony's understanding of the wider galaxy. Marcus watched her progress with quiet pride, impressed not only by her abilities but also by her humility and willingness to learn. Despite the calm, there was a growing sense of purpose between them. Marcus understood that Lyra's freedom was not just about escaping slavery. It was about proving to the galaxy that beings often dismissed as weak or ornamental could achieve greatness when given the opportunity. Lyra understood that humans, too, could rise above prejudice and expectation, shaping the future through courage, intelligence, and ethical action. Weeks passed, and the threat of bounty hunters lessened, though Marcus remained vigilant. He and Lyra spent hours planning missions beyond the colony, exploring uncharted systems and securing resources for the settlement. Each mission tested their partnership, combining human strategy and Lyra's alien instincts. Their successes earned them respect throughout nearby star systems, creating a reputation that no bounty hunter or rival faction could easily challenge. During one mission, they encountered a derelict space station drifting near a black hole. It was abandoned but contained vital resources. Marcus analyzed the station systems while Lyra used her telepathic and sensory abilities to detect structural weaknesses. The operation required precise coordination. Marcus maneuvered their ship into position while Lyra guided him through hidden hazards. They salvaged valuable technology, demonstrating that teamwork across species could outperform even the most advanced single-species operations. That evening, as they returned to the colony, Lyra looked at Marcus. "I never thought someone could see me for who I am," she said quietly. "Not for my skin, not for my rarity, but for my mind and skills." Marcus smiled. "Many don't. Most of the galaxy judges first, thinks later. You've shown me that intelligence and courage can come in any form, not just in those with brute strength or flashy appearances." She nodded, feeling a warmth she had never experienced before. For the first time, she felt truly valued, not as an object, not as a commodity, but as a being capable of contributing meaningfully to the universe. The bond between them deepened as they faced more challenges together. They encountered hostile alien warlords, treacherous asteroid fields, and malfunctioning starships. In every instance, their partnership proved stronger than either could have achieved alone. Marcus's ingenuity and leadership complemented Lyra's abilities, creating a synergy that inspired those around them. Back at the colony, Lyra became a mentor for younger aliens who had been freed or had escaped similar situations. She taught them survival skills, technical knowledge, and the importance of courage and intelligence. Marcus supported her, providing resources and training, and together they built a small but formidable community of capable individuals. Over time, whispers spread across nearby star systems. The story of the human who had stepped forward for an unsold alien, and the alien who proved her worth alongside him, became a symbol of hope and cooperation. Many began to see that humans were not weak or primitive, as some factions claimed. Instead, humans had ingenuity, ethical strength, and a capacity to inspire others. One day, while exploring a newly charted system, they discovered a planet under threat from a massive solar storm. The inhabitants were in danger, and the human colonies had limited reach. Marcus and Lyra coordinated a rescue operation, combining human engineering with Lyra's alien abilities. They devised a plan to shield the planet's cities using energy fields and redirect the storm's path with precision-guided satellites. The operation was risky, but it succeeded, saving millions of lives. When the rescued inhabitants praised them, Lyra felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She realized that freedom and respect were not just about escaping oppression. They were about using one's skills to make a positive difference in the universe. Marcus had shown her that humans could inspire greatness, not only through physical prowess but through ethical action, clever thinking, and courage in the face of danger. As the colony settled into a new era of safety and prosperity, Lyra and Marcus stood together, watching the twin suns set over the horizon. The sky was streaked with colors she had never imagined, casting long shadows over the thriving settlement. The wind carried the scent of alien flora and the hum of human machinery, a blend that symbolized the unity they had built. Lyra turned to Marcus. "Thank you," she said simply, "not just for saving me, but for showing me that life can be more than fear and survival, that we can achieve greatness together." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, firm but gentle. "We've only just begun. The galaxy is vast, and there is much to see, to protect, and to improve. Together we can make sure beings like you are never dismissed again." She smiled, feeling a strength she had never known. She had gone from being unsold at a slave auction to becoming a respected, capable individual who had earned admiration across star systems, and she had done it alongside a human who embodied the best of his species, proving that courage, intelligence, and morality could transcend appearances, species, and expectations. As night fell and the twin moons rose, Lyra looked at Marcus and then at the stars stretching endlessly above. She knew their journey was far from over. The galaxy was still full of injustice, danger, and prejudice, but for the first time, she felt ready to face it. She would no longer be overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed. With Marcus at her side, she knew she could rise to any challenge. The stars glimmered like distant promises, and in that quiet light, Lyra felt the hope of a new future. One where intelligence, courage, and ethical strength would be recognized, where humans and aliens could work together to shape a better galaxy. one where she, once left unsold and overlooked, could finally shine as the being she had always been meant to be. And with that hope, she spread her wings and looked forward, ready to meet whatever.